Hello, my name is Daniel Yuck. Thank you for joining today. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. In today's video, I want to share with you some differences between traditional and realism. For this demonstration to get my points across, I'm going to be using this floral design right here. However, the concepts that I'm going to share with you here in this video can be applied to pretty much any design. Should you have any questions at all at any point throughout this video, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'll do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. With that being said, let's get right on into this. So right here I have a small sheet of real skin, fake skin, and this is a design that I'm going to be using. It is a rose design. It is cut right down the middle, as you can see by that line. On the left, we have more of a traditional approach. On the right, we have more of a realistic approach. Let's say a client comes in and asks me for a traditional style rose. This is the setup that I'm gonna go with. Let's say a client comes in and asks me for a rose that's more of a realistic sort of look. I'm gonna go with this sort of setup. So at the very beginning, upon request, depending on what I'm going for, is gonna determine how I set my stencil up. So I'm always going to match the stencil to the application. If I'm going to be doing a traditional design, I'm going to make the stencil in reference of a traditional. If I'm going to be doing more so realistic, I'm going to make the stencil in reference to a realistic design. The application and design at hand is going to determine what needles I'm going to be using. So for this traditional side, I'm going to go with a frettage 9-round shader tattoo needle. And I'm also going to go with maybe a tight 3-round liner for this side over here and for any shading that I need to add. So I think that's how I'm going to go about it. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using an OG Produce tattoo machine. I don't know the name off the top, but I'll leave my affiliate links and Amazon affiliate links for you in the description below so you can check out the gear that I'm featuring here in this video. I'm going to be using dynamic black as well. Spirit stencil paper to get this stencil down. Where I'm going to begin first and foremost is I'm going to apply this middle line here. I'm just simply going to divide the design. When it comes to a traditional approach, I'm going to want to use a heavy line weight. So I'm just going to stick with the 9-round shader for this demonstration here to get the points across. But we're going to typically want to use a heavier line weight where we have the sort of realistic approach. I'm not going to do any sort of line weights at all. So we'll go ahead and touch base on that here. Is that I'm going to line the entire design first, then I'll go back over with the smaller line weights and then the shading last. Then I would essentially kind of repeat that process throughout the entire side here until I've hard lined everything. Typically when it comes to shading with traditional styles, for me, the shading isn't necessarily as realistic or placed the same way as it is when I am doing a sort of realistic approach. You will see that here. So with a more traditional approach, for me, the shading is a little bit more controlled. It isn't necessarily used to build up the design, it's just used to complement the existing lines and what's already there. Where with the realistic side, shading is solely building up the entire piece, and I'm going to get to that here in a moment. That right there is how I would go about approaching a more traditional standard style tattoo. When I say traditional in this video, I'm not necessarily referring to like the American traditional style tattoo. I'm using that in a context of where there's lining and shading involved, and this typically kind of refers to like roses. We have like birds, skulls, that sort of thing. The approach is going to be different in terms of how I go about applying the entire thing. The real difference is the whip motions that I'm making, the shading direction, and basically where I'm placing the shading. There's going to be no hard lining for this side at all. On the left is the traditional standard style, on the right is more my realistic approach. On the left I did use lining and shading, where on the right I use only shading. So on the left you can see we have really powerful lines with shading, and on the right we have only shading to make up the design. So the left is using a combination of lines and shading, where the right is just using only shading. Not only that, the shading placements are a bit different with the approaches. So the shading placements that I would use for a traditional standard style is different from the shading placements that I would use with a more realistic approach. Not only that, the technical application used to apply each style is different. This left side I used a lot of hard lining and lining dominant, where the right side, as you saw, it was just a lot of whip motions and cross hatching, shading, placement. You get the idea. So the technical application was completely different to apply both styles. I do hope that can give you some idea as to the technical application that is used when applying the style of tattoos. If you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'm going to do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. You have a great day.